we talk about the organization sessions, we're here and these sessions will be ongoing, and we have four main topic areas. And so those topic areas are going to be leadership. That's going to have a lot of different areas. I mean, we have self-leadership, we have leadership of others, and then just the growth and personal leadership that we go through. Another topic area that we'll do some sessions on is going to be money. So generating additional money in the real estate space, investing, pulling in different guests and experts. Technology, everything from what you've already seen us do around artificial intelligence. There's going to be guests coming in around CRM and different ways technology is moving in and outside the real estate industry. And then growth, and growth outside of the industry, but also inside the industry, things specific to agents and teams and brokerages. And so with this, I think what we're looking for is experts, but not experts from the idea that we or any of the guests that we bring on knows more, but experts from the idea of very expensive and repetitive mistake makers. I mean, that's how we learn, is who's made the mistakes so that we don't make them again. And there's sometimes I can learn from somebody else, and sometimes I have to make them myself. And so when we talk about the amount of money that we spend on personal coaching or accountability, or how much money we've lost, or the things that we've had to go through with our teams, those are a lot of times painful things, which is how we learn. And so again, expertise would be, I want the doctor that's made the mistakes, that's not going to make them again, to be treating me.
Yeah.
And so I think you're going to find some of these that are going to be free in public. Some of them are going to be for organization members only. And we are going to have a pretty amazing guest list as we get into these next organization sessions. And so we want these to be interactive. If you have requests on specific areas that you'd like us to cover, or guests that you think could be helpful, really excited for where these go in the coming days, weeks, months, years. And then I've got a little piece about what I think about why we're doing this now. But Tristan, what did I miss in there?
No, I think you got it right, man. I think I really want to focus on leadership, and leadership is always challenging, really challenging ourselves on a weekly, daily basis in some cases, when we don't feel like we want to do something and then just showing up anyway and doing it. I think all across the board, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, real estate agents, business owners, we all feel that at some point or another. And part of leadership is also being vulnerable and showing the struggles in our growth. So I think that's important as well, because we don't talk enough of the struggle piece, right? We only show what we've achieved. And I want to show both, right? Which I think you do too, by the way.
Yeah, very much. I mean, this is, when we think about leadership, that mistake side, those are painful, and they hit home, and they affect our teams, they affect our families. And one other piece I'd like to add there, in thinking about why are we doing this now? For me personally, this is a time in the world that's going to be in the history books. The things that are changing right now, and how even like the technology changes are changing the way we look at organizational theory and organization of labor, and how we as entrepreneurs work with our teams and inspire them. That's all changing. And so this is a time of a lot of churn. And that idea of even the churn, I wanted to talk about for a second, of in the churn, you either rise to the top, you sink to the bottom, or you get churned in the middle. And the times of churn are when there's an extreme amount of change. And right now in the world, there's so much change with how we're going to work and what's going to happen in the next 10 years. If there is a time that you're, and again, maybe this is over-inflammatory, but if there's a time that you're hyper vigilant about how to adjust and how to stay on the cutting edge, or what is it going to look like 5 years from now, I think it's much more now than it was 5 or 10 years ago. And so we hope that we can help you get more done. And again, this might be overreaching, but handle more stress, go through things more easily, use your resources more effectively, and just anything that we can share through what we've been through and all the people that we know have been through, because we are a composite of us and all the resources that we use to get through our challenges. And I'm glad I don't have to go through it alone, because I'd be way more screwed up than I already am.
That's funny. Yeah, it's a community effort, leadership. It's so funny. All right. I want to ask some questions here for people to come in and chime in. We've got just about 100 people on the webinar side of this. So question for you, because I asked ChatGPT the same question. What would you say you think of when you think of the word leadership? What comes to mind first? Everyone type in wherever you're watching. I want to know what that looks like in your brain. And Chris, I'll go first as I give everyone a chance to chime in. Leadership. What do you think of? One word. I think of. I mean, dude, it's a weird word, but I think of kindness.
Hmm.
What do you? I'll expand on it, but what do you think of when you think of leadership?
This sounds more selfish, painful.
Okay, you're out of this. You're done.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
But I think expanding on that just really quick, I think, and again, these are all just opinions. I think doing leadership right is and should be painful for the leader, because it's not about what we want to do and what's fun. It's about how do we take care of our people. Like all these that are showing here, those are all not fun at some time. But what you said is we pick up that every day and move into it regardless of how we feel.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. And I think the challenges that we encounter just in life in general, whether if we're leading our family, right, or we're co-leading, right, or our clients, or our teams, or our businesses, whatever it is, I think it needs to be done in a manner where it allows you to be able to connect and lead, because you're connecting in a way that people can respect each other and grow. And the communication has to flow well. And I think that all stems for me, from kindness. Like if I approach you, Chris, and I'm like, fuck, dude, what the hell are you doing over here? Like, that's not going to get us anywhere except a block, right? But if I say, right, man, dude, I love that idea. Let's give it a shot. And what's the backup plan if it doesn't work, right?
Yeah. That's on that point that you're saying. I mean, a lot of things that you do, just in interacting with you and seeing how you lead, you're very much pulling people into a conversation instead of dictating to them and saying, here's what you need to do. And I think that's a big piece of leadership versus management. I mean, you're not a drill sergeant. You're leading a team, you're championing a vision, and you're there to bring everybody along and help them understand it, to hit that common goal. And that has to be an invite. That can't be a forced thing.
I agree. Let's go over some responses, because I love these responses. Okay, let me scroll up. Jessica, Chris says lead from the front. I like that. Kind of take the action steps, right? Make sure that people are watching you instead of kind of what you're saying. Don't dictate, right? Jessica, servant leadership, totally, very true. And I know what Chris meant, but that almost feels like by leading in the front and doing things, that's kind of like a servant leader as well. You're taking action. And instead of saying, guys, do this, girls, do that, you're saying, here's what we're going to do. I'm doing it. Just follow me because I'm taking the action. So I think both go hand in hand. Authenticity. That's a tough one, James. It was a tough one for me coming in. Chris, on authenticity, I feel like that in our society in general is a big challenge, because we all come in and we're trained to think that leading in a business or working in a working environment requires you to be buttoned up and to have certain composure and to be a certain way. So that authenticity, I feel like, goes out the door. It's like, nope, you can't be yourself here. You've got to be this person. That's a tough one for me.
It's an interesting point. It's a tough one for me too. I've gotten a little bit better with it. And it's so tough to like self-judge myself and say I've gotten better. It sounds super egotistical, and it probably is. But I've gotten better at being authentic by looking at it and saying, am I pretending who I am right now? And I know there's that fake it till you make it. We know how we need to show up even when we don't feel great. But being able to go to our teams and say, I'm having a tough day today because of these things, and not yelling at you or anything else, even that piece of authenticity shows, I mean, the empathy that we're still human, we're still going through stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives even a little bit more permission for we're going to screw up, which I think also leads to the idea that I need accountability as a leader or as a support staff. I need accountability so that everybody knows I will make mistakes. And I love that that quote of, if you take a position, you're going to have to defend it. And the leader's job isn't always to take a position outside of set a goalpost and we're going to get there together. That's my position. And versus we're going to do it this way. I don't know the best way to do it, but if I'm leading, I'm helping coordinate and add speed and clear barriers. But if you take a position, you've got to defend it. And a lot of times we take the wrong ones and then we blame somebody else. And again, as the leader, that was my choice to take that position or not.
That's true. So James, that was a really good one, because now as I'm listening to Chris, I'm thinking a lot of the things that I start when I'm in a team setting, I usually say, I don't know what I'm doing here, right? I don't know what we're about to do, but we're going to do something that we don't know what we're doing together, right? And we all have our specialties and we're great at those things. We're just going to combine them and try to achieve something that hasn't been achieved before, right?
Yeah.
Which is Chris and I, by the way, are working on that right now. So
Yes, we are.
it's fresh on our minds. But when it comes to something like real estate, Chris, where I want to bring this to real estate really quick, because that's my background. That's James's background. When I'm looking at this and thinking, how can I show up authentic for my clients on selling their home, on even doing a listing presentation or a pitch, or in having people choose to work with me? How do we achieve that authenticity so we're actually clicking with people in a deeper level and we build that trust faster? Is there anything you can recommend there?
I mean, I think in all of this, one thing that I kind of want to say at the beginning here is we could spend probably all of our time in all of these sessions. There's so many like little phrases like fail fast, fail forward, and hire slow, fire fast, like those types of things we could stick on buzzwords. But as far as what I personally think is that to me, and at least in my world, goes back to my daily practice of how do I set my goal and my story for the day. And I either inherit the goal or the story from yesterday with how I was feeling, or I resell myself every morning. How does my story fit my why today? Because those are the appointments I'm going on. Like in the morning when I'm outlining every single call I'm going to have that day and what do I want to do? What do I want to contribute? Where is it going to go? I personally have learned that the more intentional I can be of pre-planning things, the more I realize here's how this needs to fit to my story. And if I'm looking at that thing in the morning and it's one of those, and you were sharing this with me a while ago, if it's one of those energy drainers, then I've got to dig into that or pass it off or figure out another reason that fits into my story. Or I know, hey, that's going to be a dragger. I'm not going to be authentic there. And me aligning those and being authentic for what I want to get out of the why, now not for my why, but the entire vision, then I feel like, because I'm a salesperson, I'm always selling. I have to try and turn it off. But if I align with my why and with what we're doing, then that selling is coming from a place of authenticity. And so for me, authentically selling to hit that goal is great. When that's not aligned is when I feel like I'm out selling or just saying something for the next widget. And that doesn't excite me. And for me, last piece here, for me in business, I'm more running from monotony than I'm running from pain. Like I'm not afraid of work and I'm not afraid of pain, but I don't want monotony. So I want to be excited and I want that alignment with everything I do. And then I'll just keep charging. And so for me, that's really important.
But sometimes we gain the energy from the boring stuff because it's not boring to us.
Yes. And I think that's exactly it. Like if I can get the why right with my story on a boring, repetitive task, I'll be fired up. But if I get that wrong, I'll be dreading it and I'll push it off for 6 weeks.
Dude, Chris, sometimes people peek in and they're like, dude, no, my wife, my wife, my kids.
There you go.
They're like, Dad, you just sit and read all day. It's like, and I play with them too, right? But it's like just so boring. It's like I kind of am, but it's really fun. Like that's what energizes me. Like I finish it and I'm like, let's do this. All right, let's keep going here. I love these. Sorry, went off on a tangent on yours. So that was good. Where are we at here? James, good one. Daniel, support. Yes, we need to be definitely. I see that in growing different companies and just continuing to build the ones we have. Felix, value. Oh man, that is definitely it. That's a big one. Chris, value-driven leadership, people, I think you break down walls the moment people feel like you have value. So when you're pitching anything,
Yeah.
look what happened yesterday. The combination,
That was,
right?
yep.
We could have stopped
Yeah, that's
talking
fast.
10
Yeah.
minutes in. That's extremely important. I didn't think of that, Felix. That is very, very powerful, because when people that you're trying, your audience, right? Your whoever that is, your customer, when they already feel like you're valuable and they invite you into their home, or they want to work with you, there's going to be a lot less objections. All they want to know, the meeting is typically, is this person really that person? So
Yeah.
you can probably talk your way out of it, but if you stay quiet and just be you, you're in. That's interesting. I love the value one, Chris. That's a good one.
That is
Judith,
good.
organized. I mean, I can be disorderly organized, or disorganized organized, if that makes sense. I guess so. Yeah, Judith, I like that. That's a different one.
Yeah,
Judith,
so I have
expand on that one.
yeah, Judith, I'd love to see or hear what you have there. Like, I have a little bit of a disagreement on that, because I've seen, again, this is only my opinion, so it's worth absolutely zero, but I've seen great leaders that are organized, and I've seen great leaders that are not organized. And to me, the greatness there is these other things everybody's listing: the authenticity, the having a team that helps support you. There's been times where I've been super organized and I'm the checklist item for the 100 things that need to move. And there's times where that's somebody else on my team, and their job is to hold my feet to the fire and hold me accountable to keep
Yeah.
the vision and the acceleration. I've had teams where people came to me and I thought I was doing a great job leading and supporting, and they said, look, you're treating me like a mushroom. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, well, you keep me in a dark closet, you feed me shit. And I'm like,
do I have to report you, Chris? Holy crap.
yes, you do. But in that, like, even if we think we're doing a good job, it doesn't really matter. It's how are we meeting their needs? And if we find that we're not meeting our team's needs, then we just need a different support structure, because like my skill set is super narrow, and I need people that support that so that the organization's healthy. I can't give everybody what they need.
Chris, I like what you're saying. As I'm thinking deeper, though, into the word organized, I'm liking it more and more, because I think, and I'm going to read into this, so if I'm wrong, let me know, Judith. I'm thinking like I need to be organized enough internally, right? I'm almost using it as a word, aware. I need to be aware enough to know of the things that I'm not great at, to know who I need to bring in to create an amazing organization, right? Like I'm organized enough with what I'm great at that I know that I suck at everything else. That's what I think I'm going to go with that one.
I like it.
And then, all right, let's keep going. There's a ton. I want to see if we have some that are repetitive too. We got organized empathy. I mean, we've seen what happens when leaders don't have empathy, which is crazy. That's selflessness, very going back to the beginning, servant, right? Authority, you know what? I think it's unspoken authority. I think she's right, Chris, because first thought was like, no, but then I thought, wait a second. Yeah. The authority comes in the actions we perform, and the servant leader, right? We have authority without actually speaking it. I like that.
What is your Caitlin says inspiring? That's always a tricky one to me. Tristan, what do you think? Because I've seen inspiring different types of people is different ages, different motivations, personalities. I mean, all the different things. Do you think it's always, sometimes the leader is that magnetic, extroverted, hard charging, and sometimes they're the super nerdy, quiet, and more internally processing? What have you seen when it comes to inspiring?
I think it depends on who you're trying to lead, because some people are inspired by the fact that you're an amazing coder, right? And you're quiet in a corner, you get shit done. And some people are inspired by those people that are like, rah, let's go destroy the Huns, right? Nothing against the Huns. I'm just referring to history. But it just depends. It really depends who your audience is. And that goes across everything we do. Like, who is your Who's your target audience when you're farming, when you're door knocking? Who's your target audience when you're calling people? Who's your target audience on social media? You're not going to please everyone. I'd like to translate that word from inspiring to who's your target audience, right? Who do you want to follow you? And those are the ones you inspire. So I think it comes across all of them. Or, Chris, I'm just trying to find something on all of these words that I can agree with. How's that?
So I like that. Could I take that a little bit further? And this might be a little more polarizing. An opinion that I have is that when you look at a leader or a salesperson or really anybody we want to try and throw in a box, and a box is always too small for the person. It doesn't capture all the nuance, but at least in my opinion. When we think about a leader, though, because it's a little bit more visible and it's a little bit easier to see where they do well or not, they're in that microscope all the time. So it's easier to kind of watch them. But I've seen some leaders that have a very wide, maybe EQ or ability to relate with different types of people and lead and really inspire them. And then some people have a much more narrow band and they can think they're inspiring people, but those people really aren't inspired. And I've been in that. I mean, I think we've all been in that spot before.
Yeah, we all have.
And so have you seen, do you agree or disagree? Maybe there's something totally different of, as a leader, if you were to look at any of your leaders and say, how wide is your band of who you really inspire? How high is your EQ? How relatable are you to all the different personality types? How much can you get in their shoes and really understand what their motivation is instead of me just being me and driving at everybody with a sales goal or a bonus? Because not everybody's motivated that way. Do you see that play into it at all?
I do. I never thought of it that way. Now I'm thinking that as we're building organizations or businesses or teams or whatever, we really have to look at maybe saying, yeah, we cover a wider range with our leadership, with our inspiration, but maybe we need somebody that specifically inspires this set of people in our organization, right? Because I actually hadn't thought about it until you said it, which is I don't usually inspire engineers, right? Because you've seen me talk, right? Not very analytical, right? I'm like, let's just do this already, right? What's all the talking, right? But you, on the other hand, you do inspire the analyticals, right? You're a lot about data, which is amazing. Like that's inspiring to me, and I'm not analytical. So I think in some cases we need one that's more generalized, but then I think what keeps it going is those specialists that inspire those specific groups. I hadn't thought about that before until you brought it up.
So in that, maybe one other piece is I love real estate because you've got a couple million entrepreneurs, but you don't have the stale presupposed structure of CEO, CFO, COO, chief revenue officer. Like you don't have this structure, and you have entrepreneurs sometimes finding better ways to self-organize because they don't have those preconceived notions. At the same time, kind of a reverse to that in the real estate space, I've seen a lot of times like the leader, people think the CEO has to be the inspiration piece or the COO or whatever that type of thing is. And it's been really interesting to meet some people that take that a different direction and say, look, my role to lead is to be the transaction coordinator. That's what I love. And the rest of the stuff, I'm okay building around myself, finding those people. And so the owner doesn't always have to be at the top. Sometimes the owner inspires and leads from a different seat. And you look for that person that can inspire, like what you said, that can inspire those specific niches that you want to either work with internally or externally.
That comes, I think that comes with maturity in some cases, because sometimes when you feel like you're not leading, this is from me personally. All right. This is me. As I was growing into these different leadership positions, sometimes I felt like if I wasn't leading, then I wasn't doing my job. Like, what am I doing? Right. But then I realized that, it's not me who's always having to speak up and lead. It's actually me having to stay quiet in the back and listening and seeing where I can fit in. Right. And that takes a lot of humility. It's like, just put your ego on the back burner. Right. So
that's another interesting point. Like, and I don't know if anybody sees this might be controversial as well, is the hero syndrome. That when you have a hero, I mean, a lot of times in the military, you look at it and say, well, who was his general? I mean, who caused all the I mean, obviously there are bad calls and things happen, but a hero is usually the survivor, had to save people from stuff. And in the business world, like that hero complex is like, I have to save it, is super egotistical and me focused. Like I'm the only one that could solve it. Whereas like
Mhm.
getting rid of the hero complex says, how does the team solve it every time? And you get, I mean, different solutions, better solutions when we get everybody's ideas on it. But
Mm.
yeah, maybe that's
I
something I fight with. I fight with, should I solve this? And trying to make sure that it's never, I need to solve this. It's how do I bring this to the team and communicate so that, again, I don't take the position, but also so I don't screw it up because I'm not going to see all the angles.
Chris, I got there by accident. I got there by accident by saying yes to so much that I couldn't sustain anything anymore. So I was like, if I want to be able to grow now and just barely keep up, I need to start delegating, and I can't do that or anything. Wait a second. What do I prioritize? What am I amazing at? What am I great at? Right? And then it just happened because I broke down. That's how it happened. I'm like, oh, I can't do anything. So instead of breaking down, I would say take time to identify what you're great at. Where do you get, and this is what Chris and I were texting back and forth on. Like, where do you get your energy from? Where do you want to show up daily? Chris, for me, it's boring as hell. I wake up and I want to read. I just want to read. Like my books are calling me right next to me, right? I want to read a ton and I love taking notes. And then I love thinking about it. It's like, how can I better those people around me and serve them better? By making myself better. Right. And I didn't usually see it that way before. But when I realized that I was being a better dad, the better person I was becoming, right? That's when it hit me. I was like, oh, interesting. I'm being a better dad because I'm actually responding better to what's happening around me and my children are watching, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, interesting. Yeah. So what about you, Chris?
So I was thinking about what you said about getting up and books calling to you. So for me, my internal pressure, kind of the stuff that I go through is a little bit different. For me, it's wake up and I am racing to cram and speed read as much as I can in the first half hour. Now, for me, that's I want to get through so much stuff every morning and I want to get to my daily planning, getting the story right. But for me, part of understanding where is the world this morning is really quick pulling, I mean, all the different news sources. Like I want to know what I'm walking into first with all the different conversations.
Hold on, dude. So Glenn, I texted Glenn earlier yesterday and he said he uses something called paper. So for context, everyone, Glenn Sanford, he created EXP. But he and I are friends, so we text all day. Here, I'm going to put it on here. Paper.li. And what he's done is he made a specific group of news outlets that are streaming to his channel that he kind of curates the news on. Here, let me show you. Working remote, that's his news, right? And so he pulls it from everywhere. So he knows exactly what type of news and everything he wants to read, right? So he knows he's not going to miss anything. You just reminded me of that. So check out paper.li. There you go.
That's really cool. And so my morning is a little bit reversed. Like I'm trying to cram, understand where the world's at, and then slow down, take time and get my head straight and kind of my heart straight for where things are going and where I need to contribute. And because if I'm facing 6 really hard meetings or 6 super fun meetings, I have to walk into those personally from a different place to stay centered and make sure I'm on purpose about them.
Do you pump yourself up with music or anything? How do you get your mind straight so that you show up your best self for these meetings?
Yeah, so sometimes it's music like on drive time, but mostly it's inspiration. It's a Facebook post. It's Simon Sinek. It's really getting in, understanding why I choose to do what I do. Because what I choose to do I mean, choosing to work 60 to 100 hours a week for 25 years, it's not fun, but it's for the reason and what we're shooting for. I mean, I think that's why anybody does this type of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's not work after a certain when you're focusing on some things, it's not work. It's kind of like fun. That's what you're doing in your spare time. It's a hobby.
But that difference to me, that nuance, that's where the heart comes in. If it fits my why, like at the end of the day, I always, just random thing, I always try to have like an extra 30 to 60 minutes of what I could do every day, even after I'm done. And if I'm feeling excited, well, then I charge into it because that's my relaxing time. And if I feel drained, then I don't do that extra thing each day. But like what you said is, I think, exactly right. When I get aligned the right way, it's not work anymore. It's a passion, and it's serving people, and it's accomplishing goals. And when I drift from that and it's grindy, that's when I have to go back to my why, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day.
What kind of music? Let's end with this. I'm imagining, and I'm totally wrong, Chris, but okay, you're getting pumped up for a meeting. Mm-hmm. And because you, a long time ago, were a real estate agent. Yeah. You're getting pumped up for a meeting, a pitch. What music do you put on? Is it Frank Sinatra? What do you put, Dan?
It's always has a slow, so it's like an STP, Stone Temple Pilots. It's Cemetery Gates by Pantera. It's
whoa, dude! What the hell happened? I did not expect that.
Yes, it's from where I came from growing up. It was, and I can't do a lot of super heavy, but the slow build to the super heavy crescendo, that to me is okay. We're going to get into this, and it's going to get hard, and then we're just going to tackle it as a team. We're in the trenches fighting every day, being totally okay getting bloody noses and broken bones because it's better than the boring side.
Damn, bro. You're a hard rocker.
Yeah.
Dude, look at that. I listen to EDM. There you go.
There you go. That's half mine. I shed the long hair a few years ago, so no more.
Buster says, I get up and hit the road walking after 2 cups of coffee. Okay, Buster, 2 freaking cups of coffee, dude. Slow down. Mind, body, spirit. 5 a.m. conference call, Pandora, and then an hour of Audible, 2 hours or 8-mile day run, 6 days a week, 42 books. Dude, Buster, that's amazing. But by like 3 hours, I would already be done for the rest of the day. I'm done.
Yeah, it's impressive.
I love that. James, House Focus playlist on Spotify for me. I love that. You know what we should do, Chris? We should create the organization playlist on Spotify. Oh, that would be fun. That would be.
I love it. That would be quite eclectic. Yes.
I love some STP, Trenton, EDM, Tristan. Yeah, that's a surprise, but awesome surprise. Thanks, Trenton. Chris, that was you. AC/DC, Metallica, Eminem. I love Eminem. Love the idea. 1:30 nap time. Naps are great for you. Let me tell you, that's a whole nother episode. Chris, what should we leave everybody with? Anything?
I think with this, that we just think about the idea of leadership is not about us. It's about our people, our teams, the dreams that we're all following, whether it's a team of 1 or a team of 10,000. And that here, we just want to be able to contribute and help us all get through this a little bit better. Leadership's a lonely sport. And so being able to share the wins, the losses is part of us getting through it together. And so it's really trying to be real here and share more of the opinions versus the whitewashed, hey, everything's always great, we're always winning. No, we take our losses too. So I just appreciate being able to have a conversation and that people are willing to jump in and we can debate this because I don't think any of us are right. It's how do we adjust how we think about this and how we do it as everything continues to change.
Yeah, I think I'm more wrong than right. I just highlight the rightness on social media. So it's a good hack, everyone. Good hack. All right. I also highlight some of the mistakes I make. So there you go. Chris, thanks for being on, man. I think I have an idea of where we're gonna go with this. This is really cool.
It's gonna be awesome.
I feel like this is like a brainstorming session on leadership and growth and with you and everyone else on here. I love this. So thanks, everybody. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate you guys.
You too.